Hi and welcome to my channel Budget Audio Review. Now I've been pretty busy picking up all the worms off the floor that come out of this can and sorting out the cat who was chasing these pigeons all around. But yeah, I think I may have opened up a can of worms and put the cat amongst the pigeons with this little test of mine I've done. I say little test, it did drag on a little bit, to be honest with you, a bit longer than I thought. It's a bit more involved than I thought. You know, got a bit involved, and to be honest with you, I did have a couple of more tracks when I started off. I was throwing into the mix. I just realised it's getting a bit too complicated, a bit too many, and I probably put up one or two too much on YouTube, but hopefully it gives some people an idea of the different sounds of these three amplifiers and also different sounds of them three speakers I put up. Now I make a fundamental mistake as well doing all this. A lot of people are going to buy these amplifiers for the input, the phono input of your record player, your turntable, and I didn't even plug the turntable into them, I just plugged a CD player into them, so I made a bit of a mistake there as well. So maybe I'll come back another time just to plug in the CD and tell you how the phono stage and each amplifier sounded. But going by the reviews, etc., they all sound pretty good by reviews I've read, so I don't think you're going to be too disappointed anyway. And maybe it's just going to give you some idea of the character of the amp or whatever, how they sound one against each other in them demos I did. But yeah, I do apologise for that. Like I say, I got a bit carried away, got a bit heavy here doing all this test, a bit more involved than I thought. That I did make a few mistakes, and another mistake I made was not recording Dark Road on I think it was the 501s with one of the amplifiers as well, the 505 speakers with one of the amplifiers as well. I had it all set up, obviously forgot to press that all important record button, but like I say, it did get a bit monotonous. Obviously I had to do different takes, etc., and the take I did have for that, it just weren't enough. It was just a very short take when I started it again to get the levels right. That I completely messed up with that one, so I apologise for that. I apologise for not having any vinyl or record players plugged into any of these, but hopefully, like I say, you got some kind of idea of how these sounded with my little demo, bearing in mind my room. And talking about my room, I withdrew the Mordant Short TI, or 35 TI speakers, should I say. I withdrew them from the final amp wrap up when I actually put amp against amp. Because something, I'm not saying nothing was wrong, no, nothing was wrong with the actual speakers, it just didn't sound right. They weren't coming across as they sounded, I don't think. Well, they definitely didn't. I'm not saying they're a better speaker than the Wolfdale 505, so it's quite a nice speaker, but they just didn't sound right. Whether it's the actual acoustics of the room, don't forget my walls are plastered, so they're bouncing around. I may have just had that microphone for them particular speakers in their front, ported speakers as well. Maybe it just weren't lining up properly, or something, it's just interfering and getting a bit echoey or whatever it was, a bit muddling there, that it didn't come out right. And obviously I couldn't move the microphone. That microphone was set in a set position. That was another reason that I couldn't re-record Dark Road. It wasn't a matter of fact of just taking the amplifier and speakers down that I forgot to do, placing the microphone there and recording it. I couldn't remember exactly where that microphone was, and it only had to be about a foot out, and it would give a different kind of sound stage, you know, give a different appearance, maybe, or a different sound how them speakers would sound, so that would have been a bit unfair. So yeah, all that I apologise for. Now let's have a little think of what I thought of these amplifiers. Okay, so as you can see, I've got four amplifiers here. Forget this bottom one, I couldn't be bothered to move it out of the way, to be honest, so I've got much room here at the moment. I'll just quickly tell you about it. This is a Pioneer SX440 little receiver, and this had an intermittent fault. The radio would keep cutting out every now and again, pretty regular, so I thought I'll stick it on here and have a little listen. As soon as it cuts out, get my meter in there and try and suss out what it is, and probably do a video of hopefully I repaired it, or maybe I didn't repair it, whatever happened I was going to show you. But you're not going to believe it, I just can't get it not to work. The radio's been working for about the last week solid, unbelievable. Yet when I stuck this on, it was intermittent, and when I bought this it was working. So this is another unit I've got. I will do a video, I think, of all the units, because there's quite a few that I've bought, and a little way down the line something's gone wrong with them. So you know, maybe a thing of how reliable this vintage stuff really is, and which makes her holding out better against others. I'll come to that video maybe a bit later on, we'll do that video. But anyway, back to these amplifiers. I didn't really know how to do this, to be honest with you, how to kind of like put my opinion across and you know, sort one out from the other. But there's been a few reviews, a few comments, shall I say, on the bits and pieces I put up. And I think, you know, looking at what people have said in that, you know, I think the conclusion is that these amplifiers are going to, you know, one person's going to like one against the other. It's probably an amplifier that you're going to have to go and listen to yourself. So I'm not trying to, you know, bail out and not give you a review of them, anything like that. It's not that. That's not the case. It's just that I think, you know, if you go and listen to these, it's going to be like more your taste. than maybe what my taste is or someone else's taste. But what I will say is, I'm going to mention a few bits obviously, but what I will say is I don't think no matter which one you buy out of these three, don't forget these are all award-winning amplifiers, different magazines, but just for instance what HiFi, these come out in their best top 11 amplifiers of all time. So obviously that's going for money, these not the 11 best against 10,000 amplifiers, don't get me wrong, it's the 11 best in that kind of like price category, that kind of thing, you know what I mean? Obviously a £10,000 amplifier is going to beat all these hands down kind of thing, but in their kind of categories and price ranges, these are the 11 best amplifiers of all time. So, and not that I always go by what HiFi reviews etc, because there's been a few bits and pieces, well one particularly Wolfdale Diamond 9 speakers that they really rated and I didn't really think much of, but I think they're pretty much bang on here, that these are all amplifiers that have won awards, so they're going to sound good. Some are going to sound better than others because they fall into different price categories as well. They're aimed at a slightly different market to each other. What I will say just very, very quickly, I just want to mention one thing now. Which one is it? Here it is. This is the A60, Cambridge A60, A&R Cambridge A60 amplifier. This was donated by Mike to the channel, so I'm going to leave a little link to his channel down below, and a really, really big thank you for Mike. It's really made all this possible. So if you've gained anything out of this, just don't thank me, I've put it together, yes, but Mike's also contributed, brought this amp to the channel and made it all possible, so hopefully it's helped someone out somewhere as well. So a big thumbs up to Mike. But Mike also left me a couple of fuses. So I want to mention this just in case you're thinking about buying this top amplifier, the A&R Cambridge A60. Just something to bear in mind. This, it's been in the back of my mind all the time. I've been really careful with it because someone's, this was my amplifier, one of these. I treat them a bit rough sometimes, you know what I mean? I feel like, I'll turn it up and have a little bit of a muck around one. But I've kind of treated this with a bit more kid gloves. Someone's gone out their way to give it to me. That's a bit special, so let's treat it with a bit of respect kind of thing. They might give me 2 extra fuses for the speakers of here, and put in a note as well saying that this amplifier likes 8 ohm speakers, don't connect 4 ohm speakers etc to it. So, and I went on the internet and I did a little look at that, and it's I'm not saying it's an unreliable amplifier by any stretch of the imagination, but there's been quite a few on the forums will say these output transistors are quite easy-ish to blow, and I've not looked at them myself, but a bit of a pig to repair and replace. So just want to bear that in mind. If you're going for this, just treat this, well, any amplifier should treat with respect, but maybe just be a little bit more careful with this A60, the ohmage speakers, and maybe don't go too mad. Because I did say to Mike, I'm going to turn it up and have a good listen to it, and he come back and said, don't go too mad kind of thing. And I haven't, I don't go mad, you know what I mean? I'm not a youngster, I'm not in my teens anymore, bobbing my head up and down, listening to a bit of punk or something like that. But, I have it at a reasonable volume, and I think the volume I level have it, treated disrespect, it didn't really get hot at all, anything like that. I did double check a couple of times. So just be careful. Just want to say, if you get this amplifier, I know I'm going a bit round the houses here, but just in case, it may say someone blowing some fuses or actually blowing them out, put transistors. Right now, what I'm going to do is tell you, hopefully, roughly when these come out and how much they went for. Right, maybe just a little bit out of the years and prices. I've gone through the internet, there's a few little bit of variations on both, so we're going to put it in the ballpark kind of figure, hopefully. The A60, about 77, would have cost you about £180. The NAD, this come out, where are we, 1978, 79, about £90. And this 8000, 83 this come out, and this would have cost you £350. Now, the reason I'm saying that is, these all won in their class, obviously these fitted in their class. So this NAD won in the class, maybe of amplifiers that back then were in the £100 bracket, somewhere around there, maybe up to £150. This could have kind of run in its class, would have been a bit of an higher bracket amplifier. Well, this would have been a budget, say this would have been a bit higher than the budget. And same with this bottom, this one may have crept into mid-range kind of thing. So when they come out, they're different prices. So you would expect the £90 one to be bottom of the rank, as it was the cheapest. This is what I'm trying to say. They're all even though they come out in different years in inflation, etc. But we're going to kind of aim it that way. I think it's pretty fair. So they're all kind of aimed in different places. These are not free amplifiers that all come out the same year, within a year of each other, and with inflation and everything else, all come out in that little bracket of say £200 or £180 to £220 in that price bracket. They're all in the different stages and different price brackets. They're on different steps of the stairs, so to speak. And don't forget, like I say, these won the 11 top amplifiers. Now what I will say, they won the 11 top amplifiers. Now I did look around on the internet and that. Sorry, this is going to be a really long-winded video. I'm going to cut it really short. What I think of them, you're going to be a bit disappointed probably. But anyway, Yeah, these won all their classes, but also I looked at the top 10 worst amplifiers of all time, and they've all won that as well, believe it or not. So you're going to get people that just don't like them, that just ain't going to get on with them and hate them. That's probably why you should go and listen to one of these yourself, or any amplifier, come to that, because you've got some that wins awards and you're always going to get people that absolutely hate it, said it's flat as a pancake, absolutely useless, toneless, all that kind of stuff. So these also won the worst, in the worst category, worst 10. But what I will say in that category, I read a few, quite say, forums and bits and pieces on the internet. They won that category, but the people that put them in that category, believe it or not, and it goes for pretty much all of these, they bought them back again, 3, 4, and one bloke bought back this 806, I think it was 800, maybe in the name, don't matter which one. He bought it back 6 times. So they're, yeah, you know, they're saying this is the worst amplifier. They've gone about and bought other stuff, and they've come back, and that's for every single one of these. Someone in them forums that I've gone with, different forums all over the place on the internet, different, you know, write-ups, all that. They've all come back and bought it again, a bit like what I used to do years and years ago when I used to be in the old PlayStations. I bought the very first PlayStation 1. I won't go into it too much, but I bought that on Japanese import a year before it came out in the UK. It may sound crazy, but this is gospel. I paid £850 for the PlayStation 1, and Ridge Racer, that one game, was £150. Madness, I know, but it weren't available anywhere else. Went into London, just off of Tottenham Court Road. Can't remember the name of the shop. I think it's down Rathbone Place or somewhere around there. A little shop there that done imports, and I bought that machine for £850, £1,000 in total. And what I'm trying to say is, I played that game pretty much to death, and I kind of got bored of it, and that was the end of it, and traded it in, got some money back. And yet, during the course of time, I bought a few other consoles, 2 other bits, but I kept coming back to that PlayStation. I went and bought that machine, and if I bought that machine 10 times, I didn't buy it at all. I must have bought it more than 10 times. Sounds crazy, but that's true. So that's what's been happening here with these amplifiers. These people said they're in the worst category, for some reason couldn't live without them, even though they're the worst amplifier in their opinion. They've sold it on and thought, oh, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought, and bought it back. And like I say, a lot of them 3 or 4 times, and in one case, one of the amplifiers, I can't remember which one it was, I read a bloke, he said, I bought that backwards and forwards 6 times, and he's got it to this day, and he voted it the worst amplifier. So that just gives you an opinion. There must be something here right with all 3 of these amplifiers for some people to go and do that, because in most occasions you'll get rid of it, thank God I got rid of that, and you won't have it on your mind to go and get it again. So I just wanted to mention that. Right, there we go. What did I think of these 3 amplifiers? Okay, I've waffled on. I'm going to keep this last bit pretty simple, really. Not much to it, really. I'm just going to tell you what we probably missed on them recordings, then maybe make up your own mind as well. I will tell you which ones I liked and all that as well, obviously. But I'm just going to tell you what you're missing out on that microphone. I mean, that doesn't tell the whole story. It's just after that little recording unit, 2 microphones about 2 inches apart from each other. Well, I need to get 2 bigger microphones, better recording equipment, maybe do a bit with the room, etc. But obviously that all costs money, and I'm hardly getting anything back out of YouTube, and I'm trying to tick over other things. So that would be quite an investment that maybe come along some other time. But I think you've still got a general idea with them recordings. But the thing you're not hearing here, maybe so much on them recordings, is that this NAD is a good amplifier. It's a nice sounding amplifier. It's quite an involving kind of amplifier. It's got quite a nice sweet sound to it. It's a tad. The actual tone's a tad on the dark side, just a tad, I think. But other than that, what you're missing out on here is that if we go to the bass here, I'm picking out the major points here. The bass on this amplifier it's got quite a bit of bass to it, and that it's quite a nice bass, but it's not a very detailed bass. It's a little bit on the woolly side kind of bass. It's a little bit, it's a little bit cloudy kind of. It's a little bit. Well, it needs a bit more. It needs more definition, and that is the old amplifier really. This amplifier here, while it sounds quite nice on them speakers, and it sounds nice, and people go and buy this. If you went and bought it, it's going to beat most amplifiers in that kind of price category. Yeah, definitely. But like I say, don't forget that price category. When you start going up, you're going to hear the difference, and the difference here also is, compared with this A60 and especially the 8000, it just the sound's muffled a bit. It's a bit muffled, like it's not that clear. It hasn't got the space around them instruments. The instruments, the vocals, all them. There's no space around it. Like you can hear there's not much space around it. It still sounds quite nice. Just a comparison between the two. When I say not much compared to the others, like I'm not saying there's none at all, but when you compare it to the other two, it just opens up more nicely. It just sounds more clear. It's a more defined sound on the other 2 amplifiers. But the main difference here is the space. I think it's it's just got more space to it, these other two amplifiers, on the instruments, the vocals, and everything really. They're more detailed as well than this A&R60. It can sound a little bit muffled, kind of, you know, you can kind of like a little bit cloudy kind of thing, that kind of sound. Not, you know, I'm not saying it's bad, it's not a bad amplifier, you know, it's a good amplifier. It's still, you know, well, you know, if you're thinking about getting one, but just bear in mind that some of these now are commanding premiums really on eBay compared to other amplifiers maybe. This NAD I think cost me about £80 when I bought it, something like that. It's got a little mark on the front, so that's maybe why I got it a bit cheaper. But I've been seeing these go for £150 and £200, and you know, not unless you definitely want this amplifier, you know, you're really into it. Like I say, you want to go and audition at any of these three amplifiers really. It's still a nice amplifier to listen to. It's got a nice, pleasant, sweet sound. It's going to keep. It's not a fatiguing sound. It's going to keep you entertained for forever. You know what I mean? It's quite a punchy sound, and that it's quite nice. It's just lacking that bit of detail. Just feels a little bit cloudy kind of thing compared to the other two. They just give you that more detail, a little bit more, you know, a bit more space. So sound stage is pretty, going to the sound stage very quickly, banging between the two speakers really, not much happening elsewhere, not got any kind of airiness, not much kind of 3D to it at all really when you compare it to the other two. They're more hairy as well and more 3D to it. So, you know, it's not a bad amplifier, like I say, but just don't go overboard buying for it. You know, if you know, I definitely recommend it still. Yeah, it's a nice amplifier. You know, it is a nice amplifier. Like I say, it won't win them awards. It's going to be all down to taste. If you know, you may like that sweet sound, that nice sound, that involving kind of sound. That sound that's not going to, you know, it's going to entertain you all day. Like, you know what I mean? You're not going to get fed up with that sound, but you're paying a little bit of a price, just lacking that bit of detail, just sounding a little bit more, you know, a little bit more cloudy than the other two. But if you didn't have the other two in front of you, you're probably not going to notice it a lot, to be honest with you. So that is the 320. It's a nice amplifier, but just don't go overboard in spending the money out for it. You know, like I say, this goes for about, you could go for £150, £200, where you can get both of these for that kind of money. Not both of them together, either one of these for that kind of money as well. Now, going to the A60, this amplifier, now you've got that space around the instruments and that. It's got more detail towards the bottom end. It's got more of a nice kick to the bottom end as well. It's got quite a nice tight bottom end. This is the tightest, boom, the tightest on the old drum. It's got the tightest bottom end here. The top end's quite nicely detailed as well. Vocals are nice. You know, everything's pretty nice about this amplifier. And when you compare it to the, you know, the NAD, it definitely is a better sounding amplifier. But like I say, it's not quite as maybe as sweet sounding as this amplifier here, but it's still a nice amplifier. It still sounds nice. It's just this one here kind of gives you that nice sweet, kind of like I say, a little bit more of a warmer sound maybe. Just makes you feel nice and comfortable, but you're just missing out on a bit of detail, top end, detail, bottom end, like I say. And overall, it's not picking out, you know, it's not like that space between the instruments and vocals and whatever's happening in the sound stage. It's just a little bit claustrophobic kind of thing. So yeah, all in all, you know, it is a better amplifier than the NAD. It definitely is a better amplifier than the NAD. This A60, you know, from what I can tell, we are, like I say, may not be coming across on them actual tracks that I'm playing, but you know, in my opinion, it's a better amplifier. Just bear in mind what I said earlier also about, you know, just be a bit careful with speed, not cranking it up too much, etc. So that's all three of them are nice. Now the bottom one, this amplifier here, it's got the most detail of all three. But it's a bit leaner sounding, this amplifier. It's not got such as much bottom end as the other two amplifier, but it's got more detail down there. It's got more detail down there. Throughout the old amplifier, it's got more detail. It's a more detailed amplifier. Some people, you know, it's like I say, it's on the lean kind of side. Some people, you know, I think one person put it out there. It's more of the of a later kind of amplifier rather than an early sounding one. You know, more of an up to date amplifier kind of sounding wise, and that's probably a fair comment, I think. This 8000 amplifier was probably the nicest sounding out the three amplifiers. It had the more detail out the three amplifiers. It just had that finesse. It's the more natural sounding out the three amplifiers. Had a nice sound stage, a three-dimensional sound stage. It was the most three-dimensional and open kind of sound stage out the three amplifiers. You know, going back to the NAD there, like I say, that one didn't have a lot of space around it, a lot of space around it. It had plenty of space, plenty of airiness, plenty of openness, plenty of finesse. It was on, you know, it played everything, like it's very, you know, with some delicate stuff. You could hear all the delicacies and all that kind of stuff, all the little shimmerings. You could hear every detail. There's plenty of detail in the recordings, in the cymbals, all that kind of stuff. just some fine brushes, anything like that, you could pick out the detail. It had, some good resolution to it. Compared to the NAD, definitely. The kind of, if you kind of look at resolution-wise kind of thing, the NAD was last, the Audiolabs was kind of second, and this just went up just another level. The resolution was there. It's nice, kind of crisp, kind of like resolution to it. If you're looking at graphics on a PC, going through the stages, this was the bottom kind of graphics. This was like SD kind of thing in resolution wise, in actual detail. This was kind of HD, and this kind of crept up towards 4K. That kind of thing was in the detail of this amplifier. Like I say, the thing is, it was on the leaner side. I just found it just a bit on the lean. It was on the leaner side out the three. Just sounded a leaner kind of sounding amplifier. It was a smooth sounding, very smooth. It was just a nice sounding amplifier. It really was a nice sounding amplifier. Saying that, like I said, I think someone described it maybe as sounding more up to a present day amplifier, while these, sounded a little bit more not present day, going back a few years ago kind of thing. So it's going to be your taste, I think. I think out of the three, this could be, some people may call it a little bit of a Marmite amplifier, like Marmite here in the UK, you either love it or you don't kind of thing. The spread that you put on the toast, I don't know what it's called in the US or places like that. But it's kind of like a spread over here, and some people like it, some people don't. I'm not saying it is, but it could lean towards that kind of category, where it's going to be one of them amplifiers where it may be just a bit too lean for some people. It's going to have the nice detail, but it may just be a bit too lean, and you may just want a bit more, a little bit more. It's got the oomph and guts kind of thing. You just may want it, not so lean. Let's put it that way. So what would be the outcome of these? All these sounds, I say, they all sound nice. And they've all got their price bracket when they was kind of like introduced into the market. So as you went up, you would expect each amplifier to sound a little bit better than the other kind of thing. So is there a clear winner here? Probably not. This is really down to personal taste in your pocket as well. But your pocket back then to now is a bit different really, because there's not a lot of difference between these amplifiers to buy now as there would have been back then. Back then there would have been a vast difference from £90 up to £350, say. Well, these days these are not far away from each other. You can probably pick up one of these A60s for, I'm guessing a little bit, say £100, say somewhere around there. This NAD amplifier, you'd probably pick up one for maybe just over £100, £100 thereabouts. You may have to pay 120, 130, somewhere around there. So as you can see, there's not a lot of difference. And this one here, I picked up this, I think, for about 170. You may have to pick it up for, I can't remember, it may actually been a bit more than that. It may have been about 190. It was somewhere around there anyway. So you could probably pick up, being a bit lucky getting in with a bid or something, you may pick up one for 160, 170, 180, something like that. So not a vast difference between the prices of these three amplifiers these days. Going on that basis, and my particular preference is I do like that openness and airiness, but then again, I do like a little bit of a change now and again. So which one would I sit down and listen to? This is what maybe this test is all about. My personal preference. I think I'll sit down and listen to it, and maybe listen to that for the detail, and maybe not getting so involved, but some relaxing kind of music, listening for detail and all that. I'll probably go for the Audiolabs 8000, that kind of thing. But to get a bit more involved and still have that nice detail and that nice sound stage and that little bit open, it's not quite as open as this 8000. Then I'll go for this A60, and I'll put in the NAD kind of last. Not that I've never used the NAD, but it's kind of like out the three. That's where I kind of put it in position. In my, as I can hear it, and how I particularly like my kind of music, like I say, that bit of openness, that kind of 3D kind of like space around it and all that kind of stuff, and the space around each instrument and all that kind of thing. It's the kind of like how I like listening to stuff. So like I say, the Audiolabs, then maybe the the A60 definitely, then the NAD in last, but that's only my particular preference. Now, this NAD amplifier is going off to Kevin at Ditton Works, so he's going to have, I'm not too sure exactly what he's going to do, but I've kind of got maybe a bit of a gist of it. He's going to kind of compare how this is, now, how it would compare to amplifiers these days, kind of thing, going back how things have changed maybe over the years, that kind of thing. I think it's something to do with that. I may not be 100%, but what I'm going to say is, this is going off to him very, very shortly, so I don't know how long it's going to take him to do that review or whatever, but go over to his channel. The reason I'm saying that is because, don't forget, I've used these with the Wolfdale Freeze, the Wolfdale Diamond Freeze, the Wolfdale 500 and 5.2s, and them Morning Short 35 TIs. Now, he's got much better speakers than them down his end, so he's going to hear a few more different things I'm going to hear probably. So, and he's probably going to go into more detail than I am as well. So I really, really suggest that you go over to see Kevin as review. Go and see Kevin at Ditton's Work review, go down there and have a look. I'll put a link down below. Go and subscribe, etc. I know many of you have anyway, but if you just wandered over this channel, go and subscribe to his channel and wait for that review. He's probably going to give you a much more in-depth review than I've given you here. So let's go off to Kevin. So I'll say once again thanks to Mike. I'll put a little link to his channel down below. He supplied this Cambridge A60 amplifier. It was something I wanted to do, kind of thing. Now, I had these two amplifiers here. They've both been sitting there. I haven't really done much with them apart from a few listening tests for speakers and all that kind of stuff. And I was waiting for another one to come into it, and it was this particular one, believe it or not, complete fluke. Mike's come along and donated it to the channel, so made this possible, and hopefully, like I say, put some tests up there for you to listen to maybe make your own mind up between the three as well. But them tests don't tell the whole story, I don't think, due to that little microphone, and that is not giving the space, and maybe some of the detail you're missing on that as well, especially on the top end as well, and probably the bottom end actually. Okay, so that's it. That's my sum up of these three amplifiers. I'll probably, like I say, put this in first, the 8000, put this in second, and a little bit like behind them would be the NAD kind of thing. So that's my my thoughts on these three amplifiers. I hope you found you've got something out of it somewhere along the line, and I haven't really bored you too much going through all this. Until the next video, I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.